we're on a roll here. Video 3. Hopefully this one won't be super long. I think what I'm gonna do is a lot of these points I'm gonna go through pretty quick on here, and then we'll actually cover them in class, and we'll have y'all do that jigsaw thing where people come up and talk. Anyhow, now we're gonna talk about writing for blogs. It's a little bit different than other writing, as is most of the things that we do here. I feel like a lot of times you all get really frustrated with me because you're like, oh my God, we just learned how to write a different way last week, and now we're learning how to write a different way now. And that's just because that's the way it works, folks. Different mediums take different styles of writing, and blogging is no different. Here are some things to keep in mind whenever you're writing a blog, and that is that you're competing with like their attention. There are so many things online that are vying for you to click on them and go away from your blog. That most of the writing in blog is designed to hook and bring people in. And it's done so much more shamelessly than it is in the newspapers. And so, we have to attract and keep the reader's attention. We order the information differently, and I'll tell you, it's inverted pyramid, just like in press releases. I told you that would crop up again. You're typically limiting your blogs to 1 point per post, and it's not that you can't have a sub point, or like a main point and then supporting things. It's that you don't want to talk about two wildly different things in the same post. And it's also very akin to news writing. So let's go through the process here. And again, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because in class we're gonna cover this. Although don't stop watching the video because who knows, there could be something funny or important that happens. So choosing a topic can either be really daunting or it can be too easy. And if you are on either ends of this, you need to question where you're at. So it can be daunting in that you're like, oh my God, there's so many things to write about, and I don't know where to start. I don't know how to organize my information. And then on the other side, it could be too easy, like, oh, I want to write about seeds. Let's write about seeds, and then there's no more thought that goes into it. So both of those are bad. And so here's a process that you can follow. Don't rush it. Let ideas percolate. Choosing a topic is not something that you can generally sit down to do and then think about it and then do it at your desk. It's something that you kind of need to carry around with you in the back of your head for a few days before you come up with some things. So here's a process that you can do. Some tips. You can keep a written, sort of mental list of ideas. I actually kind of do this, not for blogging, but for other things. But like I just, keep a list actually on my telephone, or I have this little black notepad that perhaps you've noticed I carry everywhere. And when I have an idea, I write it down. And then another process that you can follow is you can brainstorm ideas. This works particularly well if you are in a group, which you guys are, and you have to come up with multiple topics. You can just do like a brainstorming activity. You can mind map, which is where you sort of like once you've brainstormed, you can write down a bunch of things and then draw circles and lines between them and say, oh, these things are alike and we can actually put them under one post, or no, we have more information here than we need and we can actually split it up and make it multiple posts. I'll show you an example in just a moment. And so because of that, some items may merge or they may split. The main thing is just don't blog the first thing that comes to mind. Like have a process by which you think about it. Here's what my mind looks like on the inside. Isn't that frightening? So this was like the big plan for my foundation and all the little sub things that came off of it. This is an example of mind mapping where you cluster things and draw circles and arrows. Anyhow, other choosing a topic tips. You can identify a need or have a goal. And so the example that I gave in the last video about the Southern States Co-op group decided that they wanted to sort of address the needs of their readers by doing how-to posts, and so that was pretty helpful. And so their goal was to educate people. Another sort of tip more than anything else is just have a specific reader in mind. Whenever I used to write newsletters and letters and curriculum, whenever I was a county 4-H agent, I had this one volunteer. Her name was actually Kelly Crosby, and I always pictured Kelly reading this, and I was like, what would Kelly understand? What would Kelly want to know about? Because she was sort of like my average ideal, and I know that those things don't go together, but they kind of do in my mind. Like, she was what I wanted my average volunteer to be like. So anyhow, you can write something that matters to you. That's probably a precursor. Like, you should definitely always do that. Otherwise, we'll tell. And then write something that's topical or current. Again, one topic per post, and you can plan ahead too. So especially for people that are working in agriculture and they're planning topics around the seasons, you can think, all right, winter's coming. Like, what can we write in winter? And then put those topics away, file them away. So let's get into the step by step. Here are some tips for crafting a title. And there really are some tips. Like, there's no right way to craft a title. There's just, helpful hints. And so hopefully, take one of these that works for you. So just remember that a title is the determiner of whether or not your post gets read online. It's the first thing that people read whenever they run across your blog. A lot of time blogs are shared on social media, and what is it that pops up on the Facebook wall or in the Twitter post or tweet or whatever you call them? It's the title. Usually nothing else. And so if you don't have a good title, no one's ever going to read your post. It doesn't matter how good it is; people won't find it. Um, and so the goal of your title is always just to get potential readers to read the first line of your content. Again, it'll appear in social media. It'll be in search engines whenever you Google it. And also, if you can get other bloggers to link to you, your title will be the first thing that comes up. You can write it at any point, like you don't have to write it first, but it must match the story. Otherwise, you're violating that transaction that we talk about. People read, the title in the first line, and they expect the story to be, in line with that. And then if it's not, they just get angry at you and stop reading your stuff. So my advice is always to write the title last and definitely spend time doing on it. So here are some tips. You can communicate a benefit. 10 college application musts. Oh my God, I got to read these because otherwise I won't get into college. You can try to stir up a controversy or a debate. So UF far superior to all of their schools ever, except for LSU because we lost. It was embarrassing. All right. You could pose a question: Star Wars or Star Trek? I don't. Maybe we'll poll the audience. You could personalize the title, so if I read a title that says your summer vacation destination, I want to be like, where am I going? I want to know, and then I click on that. See how this differs a little bit. It's a little more, openly vying for your attention than in like a press release sort of title, because I feel like the press release is supposed to be more subtle and professional. This is just like, oh my God, read me. Anyway. Use keywords. You can grab the reader's attention if they're topical. And then also the other reason that keywords are helpful is because they create sort of flashpoints for memory. And so if your title is Congress really sucks right now, like that could be any time. Versus congressional gridlock leads to shutdown. That's a really good title. Because that's only happened like 2 or 3 times in our nation's history, or at least in recent history. Use what we call power words like easy, free, stunning, discover, and free. Don't you feel powerful now? All right, and then you can also have a humorous title like Nurse Stole My Funeral Cash. That was a joke. Squirrels on crack. That's the funny one. Anyhow, but whatever you do, keep it succinct, easy to digest. Don't use periods. I don't know why. There's a period after that. Look how funny I am. I really don't know why we don't use periods. I don't think it's ever, like, titles aren't meant to be a sentence, and so I think grammar doesn't apply. All right, so that first paragraph, this is the lead that we talked about in press releases. Here are some tips for it. Again, it must match the rest of your post. Second most important part of your post. And news writing, which we just learned about, is called a lead. And its job is to draw people in and set the tone of the post. And so it should sort of answer, what is this story about? What is most important about this story? What is most unique about this story? And again, these are things that we just learned about in press releases. So you're getting another chance to apply it. Some tips, just, if you're looking for a way to really hook people, you can identify a need. You can ask a question where the answer is yes, to make them read more. Like, do you enjoy getting free things and oxygen? Yes, and then I want to read more. You could pose any other intriguing question. You could say something unexpected, like, by the end of this blog, you'll be better looking. Or, I don't know. You could tell a story or analogy. You could make a claim or a promise. That's actually where that anecdote was supposed to go, but I've used it now. Oh well. Anyhow, so you see again, these types of tips like lend themselves to more sort of or overtly or ostensibly vying for people's attention. Again, and that's like this paragraph is very, very similar to the lead in the news story, except that you can be like unabashed about trying to hook them in, whereas before you had to sort of portray some stately journalistic elegance. Anyhow, you can make a controversial statement. You could use statistics. Everybody loves statistics. In fact, 8 out of 10 people love statistics. I just made that one up. You could start with a quote. This is probably the only place that starting with a quote is acceptable. Don't ever start your press releases with a quote. Or you could also use an image, such as for this one called Obese in America. And then I like the thing here that says, despite news reports, studies show obese people have heads. All right, making your posts count, answering the so what question. So remember that you're competing for attention. And so if you can answer the question, so what, as you write, this will make your points, like your posts rather, more powerful and make people more likely to read them. So, as you're writing or before you start and then definitely at the end, ask yourself, like, what is the point? Did I achieve conveying the point? What am I really trying to communicate? Do I have a goal with this post? Like, do I want people to learn something or take a specific action? So be strategic about it in that way. What impact do I want to have? What benefits is this going to give to my reader? And as you think about these things, write them down, because sometimes if they're there staring at you on the paper, it keeps you focused better. And again, this is meant to focus your writing. Most people or posts don't have points because of A, laziness, B, distractions, or C, deadlines. And I know that I didn't actually number them. That should be like flower laziness, flower distractions, flower deadlines. And so that's why most blogs ramble, and where you get done and you're like, what was the point of reading that? I don't understand. And so if you know what it is that you're trying to communicate and what effect you want that to have, then your post will be way better than the average, and that's what we're shooting for here. So before you write, write like a goal statement. You're not going to turn this in. This is just for you to have to help you be better. So you want to teach them to this or inform them about this or entertain them about this even, or inspire or call to action. And call to action is just we want them to do stuff. And then as you write, like try to achieve your goal statement, but also recognize that writing is a process and your goal may evolve. Like, writing is, the reason that we have you write essays in school is because it forces you to think through the problem. It's not because teachers love to read essays or that we're particularly attached to them as a medium. It's because the act of writing it down forces you to think about this at a higher level. That's why we have essays. Now you know. And then before you finish, ask yourself the so what question. Like, have I met my goal? Have I fully explored my topic? Or have I just written something to write and post on the website? And if it's the last one, you need to start over. So hopefully you all will have met your goals. Don't try to achieve like too much in a single post. This is another tip. Don't be epic. Don't be like, this post is going to tell you everything that you need to know about corn. I don't know why I keep going back to corn. You typically want to pick, one thing. Most blogs are between 400 and 500 words. They're really short. Again, because of the attention span that people have online, doesn't lend itself to being epic. So don't be epic in your posts. All right. So I think our last one that we'll talk about is having a call to action. This is probably one of the more important tips. It's not for every post, but it is for some. And if you're going to do it, you need to know how to do it right. So if you want your readers to do something, you have to ask. They're not going to infer, like they don't do subtlety. And so if you want your readers to comment, invite them to comment. You say, please comment on my post. If you want them to subscribe, tell them to subscribe. Think about, I don't know if you all watch Jenna Marbles. I love Jenna Marbles. Like at the end of her videos, like her and her two little dogs come out and she's like, oh, don't forget our new videos every Tuesday or whatever it is, subscribe to our YouTube. That's what she's doing. She's like being explicit, wanting you to do something. That's a call to action. You can invite people to share on Facebook, and you can also invite people to come back for future posts, especially if you're doing like a trend. Like I keep going back to my seed people, where they wanted to have like how-tos for the farm. They may say, come back, next week where we explore how to no-till your farm. Anyhow, and people, if you're writing well and people are getting a lot out of your blog, then when you ask them to engage, it's not you, asking them a favor. You both get something out of it, because they, are more engaged, they're more loyal, and they're more um, able to act. And then, that's what we get out of it. But they get, to feel more loyal, and they get to feel more engaged, and they get to do something. And it's like, don't feel bad about asking for stuff, because they wouldn't do it if they didn't want to. And sometimes they're just waiting for somebody to ask because they want to be a part of something. All right, that's enough psychology for the day. Um, Other tips, know what actions you want your readers to take and then ask them specifically. You only get one call per post. So if you're writing like a political thing, don't be like, and write your senator, and then, go to a county commission meeting, and then get out there and tip over cars. Like, no, you only get one call per post. And you also want to make the action simple and specific and achievable, so you don't want to be writing about like a food drive and then at the end be, get out there and, cure world hunger, because what does that mean? Nobody knows where to start with that. It's more better. It's better if you say, and so that's why we want everyone to, donate 3 cans of food to the local food bank in your area, and here's how to find it. Like, that's specific and achievable and really simple. In-post calls work the best, and you can highlight them. Like, you can literally highlight them with like literal color in the post and say, do these things, as opposed to putting them all the way at the bottom or in like a box off to the side. Like, if you put it where the people are reading anyway. Describe the benefit of action, and then back up the call. So like most of the time this will be implicit in your message of like what the benefit will be, but don't be afraid to spell it out for them. So if you're asking them to donate food, you can come along and say, this will help feed homeless families in our area. 3 cans of food can feed a family for, I don't know, like a meal or something. I don't know, but it shows them the benefit. And then they're like, oh, if I do this, I'll be getting this benefit or doing this thing for these people. And then that makes it much more real to them. Also, don't do the same call to action every time, mix it up, and then always ask with confidence. Don't be a jerk about it, but don't be like, oh man, it would be nice if you guys could come out to the, to the food drive and give us some food maybe sometimes, okay? Because nobody's gonna respond to that. All right. For this adding depth to your post business, we'll do this in class, and then you won't have to listen to me anymore. So we'll call this the last video of the blogging lesson. Thank goodness. Aren't you excited? So remember, just as a recap, let's not recap. Let me show you all what your homework is going to be. That's what you really care about. So assignment guide for blogging. Again, you're going to join forces with 2 other classmates or 3 other classmates, whoever's in your group, and create one blog, but with 1 post for each of you, so 3 to 4 posts. I think I put you all in groups of 4 posts. You can select any topic under the broad category of your assigned area of interest. So whatever your business is or organization, like your topic should obviously be related to that. For blog writing style, you're going to follow what we've covered today in these lessons, but keep it short, succinct paragraphs, and use that inverted pyramid, which we actually did not talk about in here, but which you will use from your press releases. You can set up your blog on any blog platform. I would suggest Blogspot or WordPress, and it should include a findable about the author section. And when I say findable, I mean don't make me hunt for it. And then it can have an about the author for each of you. So everybody gets to write their own about the author. To turn in your blog post, everybody turns in their particular post. And what you're going to do is you're going to submit it by cutting and pasting a link into Scholar under this assignment. And so the most important thing here is, and please don't screw this up, children. The most important thing is you need to, send me to the link that links directly to your post, because that's the one I'm going to grade you on. If you send me to your blog and there's 3 or 4 posts there and I don't know who wrote which one, I'm just going to give you a 0 because that's too much work. So again, whenever we go over this today in class, you're going to brainstorm topics, you're going to come up with titles, choose your blogging platform, create your blog, draft your about the author section, blah, blah, blah. All right, that's enough of that. All right, well, I think that's it. Good job, everyone. Thanks for making it to the end. Super. See you in class.
Change your mind.